This is the Volleyball Video Dads Podcast with four guys who don't have all the answers, but do have a lot of opinions.
The four of us have found each other. All the BB you can get.
And there it is. It didn't take long.
For the video dad, it's like, hey, that's my spot.
Yeah.
I need you to move that net.
Somebody want to bail me out here?
It's fun to watch you work. Matt took me in like a stray dog.
And now that stray dog is turned into a beautiful steed.
All right, good evening and welcome to another live episode of Volleyball Video Dads Podcast. So I am Jamazing, and with me as always are Dan,
Hey.
Matt,
How's it going,
and Travell.
And that'd
Whichever,
be
we always do the Brady Bunch, which way we point kind of thing.
It is what it is.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight?
Oh,
good.
I'm tired.
Man.
I'm sick. I need a haircut.
You know the same old video volleyball routine every week, and we haven't even hit the prime season. So here we
Travell
go.
is hustling during the prep and college season so he can be ready for club. He's going to make all the hype videos. Everybody's going to want a piece of Travell.
Travell, how is that going? I mean, other than the fact that you probably haven't slept in like a month.
Yeah, man. I don't know what sleep is right now because I stick with looking at volleyball videos that I've taken or editing or I'm actually filming. So it's keeping me busy. And yeah, what is sleep at this point, right?
Tell me about it. I know our hometown varsity team is 29-1, maybe 30-1 right now.
Ooh,
Ranked 12th in the nation.
nice.
What happened in the
Nice.
one? What happened in the one?
Sleep. Somebody was sleeping.
Oh.
Actually, the whole team was sleeping. But
It happens, man. It happens.
brackets are out, so they've got a road to state, and we'll see what happens there. So
Nice.
Oh yeah.
When are they playing state?
Very cool.
when?
Yeah.
First weekend in November.
Nice.
So
Cool.
All right.
yeah,
You're looking for exciting things. Dan, you've been putting out Game of the Week videos.
yeah, it's been fun.
Which
It's been
has
fun going
amazing.
around and watching other teams play and catching up with parents I haven't seen since the club season. So it's good times. Good
Oh,
times.
Very good. Very good.
How about you, Matt?
Matt.
What have you been doing?
Yeah, Matt, what's going on, Matt?
Well,
That's cool.
it's just
Or Matthew? How?
don't make me tell that story again.
Patrice, shall we?
I guess we're going to yeah, Travell, you missed it. So I'm picking up my mom from the airport tomorrow, and I'm gonna have to bring up a memory from back in 6th grade about how I wanted to be Matt, and she wanted me to be Matthew, and I'm Matthew. So we're gonna bring that up.
Top one. Weird.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to video it, and
That'd be
maybe we can share it on the
interesting,
next
won't
episode or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a great natural segue to our topic tonight and our special guest. So we're going to be dealing with all things mindset related. And,
Yeah.
Am I bringing in Paige right now?
So Matt, what let Matt make introductions and we'll bring Paige on.
All right.
Yeah,
sounds like
absolutely.
Cool,
I
let's hear
think that this is an amazing is going to be an absolutely amazing episode because I'm sure that everybody has seen it, experienced it maybe with your own kid, or you've seen it out on the court where something bad happens, and it usually it starts with one girl and it kind of spreads. And I as a gentle dad, the heart in me, my heart starts to break for them because you will see. You know what? They go up for a hit, and normally they're really consistent. And man, this one just sails way out of bounds, or it goes under the net. Even it's just a huge misfire. And then the rotation happens, and they're suddenly on the back row. And if there's a good coach and a good server up, and they see that, hey man, they just missed one bad, and they serve right to them, they shank the pass. They come right back at them again. They shank the next one, and all of a sudden you just see like this demeanor just crumble almost. And I hate to see
Coach
that.
calls a timeout. Coach calls
Yeah.
a timeout. Yeah.
He calls a timeout, or all of a sudden the down ref calls for a substitution.
Yeah.
And what happens to that girl then? When she comes back in, and I hate to see when the mindset starts to go down, because we don't want anybody to suffer out there on the court or even on
Unless
the
it's
bench.
the opposition.
unless it's the opposition. Now, I encourage my daughter when she's serving, hey, go after that one that just shanked that last pass.
Heck
You know, going after that one. But I hate
You're building character.
But I think that tonight is a great opportunity because we're coming up on the end of school ball. You know, we were just talking about state tournament coming up for everybody. So we're coming up on the end of school ball. We're about to start club season. You know, for us, we haven't had club tryouts yet. Dan, I don't think you guys have either.
Nope.
I know Jim and Travell have, but there's a lot of tryouts that are taking place. And so I thought it would be good if we brought on Paige Tons. She is a girl athlete mindset mentor. You can go ahead and bring her on as we introduce her. Hey, Paige.
Hey.
I thought it would be a great opportunity. I think the timing is actually perfect to bring her on and talk about, you know, mindset and all things mindset. There's so much to talk about with this. I went through and created a bunch of notes and questions. I don't even think we're going to get through a quarter of it because there's just so much that goes into mindset training. But before we get started with all that, Paige, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for being patient with all of my phone calls and texts and emails. I'm the risk management guy and want to make sure all the bases are covered. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Can we start off with a round of applause, or you want to say that for the end, or
whatever you guys want to do?
Let's give a round of applause.
Hey,
Paige.
Paige.
Let's go. Yeah.
But Paige, thanks for being on. Why don't you take a minute and just tell us all things about Paige? Tell us about you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. And this has already been a whole lot of fun for me just listening to you guys. So I'm excited to be here with you. And I will say, I did get the notes for tonight, and I was like, are we doing like 3 shows? Because I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to cover all this.
I like to be prepared.
Surprise.
And I always say that, like, when I get to share, I'm like, we could talk about this for like hours and hours and hours, but we'll try to get all the good things out in the time that we have. But my name is Paige, and again, thank you guys for having me on here. It's such an honor to hang out with the dads tonight. I have tried very hard to get my dad to come do some stuff with me, but I haven't convinced him yet. Because I've got lots of stories about me and my dad's relationship growing up. I wouldn't say he was the gentle kind like Matt. We'll just put it that way. But my name is Paige Tons. I grew up as an athlete. I really struggled with the mental side of the game, and honestly, I wouldn't say it's like I wasn't confident. I probably would have never admitted to something like that, but I was so hard on myself. I had really high expectations for myself as an athlete. I wanted to be the best. And when those things didn't happen, or when I ran into struggles and failure and frustrations, I would like crumble. And I was so good in practice. I was like work my butt off, and then I wouldn't see the results that I wanted to out on the field or the court. And it was just a really frustrating thing for me growing up, and even into college. I played softball. Softball was my main gig. I played softball all through college over at Northwestern University. I did play volleyball all through high school, and sometimes I wonder, why did I keep playing softball? Like, volleyball was way more fun, but I'm sure if it was the other way around, I would have thought the same thing about softball, because it was like the thing that was going to, take you through college and get you that scholarship. There was a lot of pressure. So because I struggled with the mental side of the game, I decided later in life, when I finally figured out what the heck I wanted to do as an adult and in my career, I decided I really wanted to help female athletes, girl athletes, and their families learn more about the mental side of the game and how to build confidence. Because oftentimes, when I was playing, my coaches would be like, Paige, like, just go out there and believe in yourself. Or like my parents would be like, Paige, just like go out there and be confident. And I'd be like, okay, that's great. But like, I just struck out. I just shanked the volleyball. Like, I was like, wow, I can really relate to that being in the back row for volleyball because that was not my greatest asset. And I was
you're not alone in that. There's a lot that struggle there.
I got targeted 100%, and I'd be like looking at my coach like, when are you going to take me out, please? But like I would be coming off from struggles and failures and be like, I don't feel confident. I don't know how to feel confident. Like, so what I wanted to provide for girls is the how to actually be confident, how to actually be confident when things aren't going the way that we wanted them to, or we're not getting the results that we want. Like, how do we create confidence in moments like that? So that is really like what I do in a nutshell is I help girls build confidence, and I help their parents understand and walk them through that. So that's what I do.
Nice. Very cool. We talk a lot about the mental game. I don't think people talk about it as much as what they should. Just a little caveat. We kind of brand ourselves as dads that have tons of opinions and no real answers. So you may hear a lot of opinions tonight.
You will hear
personally am of the opinion. I personally am of the opinion that the mental side of the game is very huge. We had a guest on a few weeks ago, and she talked a lot about the mental side of the game, through visualizations and mindset and working through different, what if scenarios of things that could go bad. What are you going to do? And I thought that was so cool, to hear those things. And so I think it's great to have you on. But before we dive into, mindset, I'm curious because everybody has an opinion. Everybody has their own definition. To you, what is mindset? When we're talking about mindset tonight, what are you talking about?
That's a really good question. I think mindset to me is like it's the thing that we don't talk about or work on when it comes to like what we think about ourselves and how we think about the game and our approach and confidence and all of those things combined. And it's like this missing piece for a lot of athletes, right? Like a lot of athletes have the physical side and they can work hard and they're consistent and they show up to practice and they're going to lessons. They're doing all the things right, but they're in their own, they constantly get in their own way and in their own head and overthink. And I think that's what mindset is really taking control of your thoughts. And like I said, like that approach, like how are you approaching things? How are you thinking about it? Like thinking differently and all of that. That's a really long answer to that question.
No, it's a great answer. It's when I think of mindset, you guys are welcome to weigh in on what your opinion is on mindset. But when I think of mindset, I think of the magnifying glass. We've all seen magnifying glasses, and when I think of mindset, I think of whatever it is that you're focusing on is the thing that you're going to magnify. And whatever you magnify is the biggest thing in your world at that moment. It's the biggest thing that you see. And so you can take that both positively and negatively. If you're having a bad game, you've shanked a bunch of passes, you've missed a bunch of serves, you've misfired on a ton of hits. The thing that you're focusing on, the thing that could be huge is that last ball that you played. And if you get stuck on that, to me, your mindset is that you're going to go back up to that next one and you're going to play it safe. I see girls all the time, whenever they're not hitting well, they tip or they push and they push right to the opponent and they just send the ball right back over. They just play a safe game because they're afraid that if I go up and kill this ball and it sails out of bounds or it goes right into the net, coach is going to pull me. And they get that in their head, and that becomes what they're focused on, which is the biggest thing in their life. You might have a different opinion about that.
No, I'll say if you're afraid to do your job, coach needs to pull you anyway. That might be a little bit on the hard side, but you're a hitter.
But I think you're right, Matt. And just to piggyback on top of that, it's definitely something that you can get stuck in that rut, whether it's a run for a positive or it's a run for a negative. It's definitely something that it's like a I mean, I don't want to say it's like a virus, but it like spreads too. So when one girl is down and one girl comes over to console or whoever, that girl can either turn around and be positive after she's getting consoled, or she can be a mope and she can just spread it to everybody else. You know, and it's not even during the game. It's between games. It's sitting down. It's one girl complaining that she sucks or somebody else sucks. And, you know, and then that just spreads across the whole team. You guys have heard me say this before. What's that? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say how many times have you seen that happen in a tournament where? Oh my God! I mean, once it starts with one and it goes downhill, it's picking up speed really quick, and it just goes downhill from there, and it can ruin the entire rest of the day. I think we've all kind of seen that from in one aspect or another, whether with our daughters and the team that they're on, or just other teams on the court or within the club. So I think it's definitely something.
How about this for a twist, Travell? When you see it from the parents and it spreads to the kids.
Ooh. I think that's even worse.
All the time.
Right? Yeah, you see that.
Yes.
None
of us have ever done that.
Dan turned off his camera.
I'll be the first one to admit I've been in that very same position that you're talking about, Jim, and it's just like you expect a lot more. And you don't realize that the way that you're carrying yourself on the side, that each and every one of those girls, including your own daughter, is paying attention to that. And what kind of energy is that feeding to them? And then you want to expect them to play at this high level with mindset. And what did you really just tell them that, hey, this is all I'm going to get.
I'm going to go kick the garbage can.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's important that, like you said, Dan and Paige, is like for parents, I mean, we play a big role in that too. And so I think we kind of need to be more conscious about how we exhibit our the traits and the facial features and the body language onto our kids and our players, because that can also be a cancer to them as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Paige, you've worked with a lot of girls across multiple sports. Obviously, you were a softball player in college. I'm pretty sure you worked with a lot of softball girls, but I think through our conversations, you said that you're picking up a lot of volleyball athletes, into your program to do the mindset training. What would you say are some of the top battles that a female athlete is going to encounter, volleyball related or just in general? Sports related, what are the top battles that they encounter?
I think the top two things that I hear from the girls and from their parents as well. Well, this one's from the girls for sure, is they don't want to let their teammates down. Like I hear that over and over. Like they want to perform and they want to be successful, is they don't want to let their team down. When I look back at my experience, I'm like, man, I selfish or something. I just really didn't want to let myself down.
Right.
These girls really don't want to disappoint their teammates, and I also think it comes from they don't want to be judged or compared or those kinds of things. I think it also stems to they don't want to let their parents down. They don't want to let their coaches down. But they're actually just extremely selfless in that area, and it creates the hesitancy that you were talking about, I'll just go tip instead of just go for it. They're just really afraid of any past failures or struggles in that game to just go and whatever happens, which was my mindset my senior year of college, which we can get into later. But that's the number one thing. The second thing is recovering from mistakes. You're I just cannot get past my mistake or over my mistake. I just dwell on it. I can't stop thinking about it. I think that's the magnifying glass that you're talking about too, Matt, is they just get so fixated on it and it seems like the biggest thing in the world. I remember making mistakes and messing up, and first of all, you just feel stupid, you look stupid, and it feels like the world is going to end in that moment. It feels so big and heavy, and they don't know how to get past that and how to move through that and understand and know in those moments that's just helping you get better instead of that's what we need to get to rather than letting it like pull us under.
Paige, that's a great point. And as an example of that, I'll take myself and my daughter. When I was a young athlete many years ago, I could not get past my own mistakes, and I would downward spiral, and I would just build mistake on mistake, and it would ruin everything. And so I never figured out how to get past that when I was playing sports. I was in my 30s when I finally learned how to do that in a competitive scenario.
Yeah.
My wife and I are very, very big on mindset and mental coaching. We read a lot of mindset books and philosophy. So we're really big on that kind of stuff. And we've shared that with our daughter, not necessarily our oldest daughter, right? Not necessarily for sports, but just for life. And then we were at a tournament in Reno this past season, and she's a DS libero, a defensive player, right? Her job is to receive serves and do it well. And she just got brutalized in the first set of a match. And they were serving at her, and that's never a good sign when you're the specialist. That's your job, right? And she shook it off, acknowledged that set was not good, and she had an amazing second set. She just played lights out. And I asked her about it afterwards, and she told me, I took a deep breath, and I just practiced what you guys taught me. I reset, and I went back out there and did my job. I was like, wow, she listened.
We're like, on that. Good job.
Proud dad moment. Big proud dad moment.
Yeah.
At least she learned, right? It was 30 before I learned. She's 13.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That is huge. I think that's amazing for her. I'm more curious now. How did you get your daughter to listen to you as a dad? I have not been able to do that.
Yeah, same here.
We don't have that trouble, do we?
I'm lucky if you get eye
All
contact.
the time.
Luckily.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's a spousal. It's the same thing with our wives, I'm sure, and I'm sure we do it to our wives too, right? We have a tendency to not listen to the people closest to us when they tell us stuff. We would much rather go to an expert, somebody like Paige, and have them, even if they say the exact same thing our wives are telling us or that we were telling our wives, we're more likely to listen to an expert than our spouses or parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's another psychological episode we could have.
Yeah, if you figure that one out.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Hey, I just like Matt, I'm very invested in this topic. We practice it a lot in our household. And like I said, we invest a lot of time in it amongst ourselves, not necessarily seeking outside help, but it's something that is always on our minds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very interested to hear all the things you have to share today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to piggyback on, what are the top, things that girls experience, the mindset battles that they face. What do you find that girls have, specific habits or things that they do that tend to sabotage that mindset?
Well, definitely like dwelling on it and like just continuing to blame themselves for it and just being really, really, really hard on themselves. One of the conversations that I have with the girls a lot is that, as athletes, we're going to be hard on ourselves. We're going to have high expectations for ourselves. That's not just going to like magically go away. Like the negative thoughts that we have about ourselves sometimes are not just going to magically go away. You're going to continue to have those for the rest of your life. I'm like, that's kind of the bad news. The good news is you are capable of controlling your thoughts, which helps you control your emotions and how you feel, especially when you're playing and also in life, like you were saying, Jim. I almost called you Jim Amazing, but then it's not.
He is. He is.
And but I'm like, the good thing is we can figure out how to have a better balance, because we have to be hard on ourselves to push ourselves. Just like our parents are hard on I tell them, like, your parents are hard on you because they know that you're capable. They know that you have all this potential. And so do you, that as athletes too. But if we're always hard on ourselves and we always beating ourselves up over the mistakes or a bad game or a bad weekend or whatever it might be, then we're just going to continue to like be in that spiral or that slump or that rut. I know Dana mentioned like kind of like a rut. We have to figure out how to be kinder to ourselves and give ourselves grace. Like, I know it always sounds so cheesy when I say it, but if we can't give ourselves grace, one of the greatest things I ever heard from another coach was the higher you hold yourself, the higher expectations you have, the more grace that you have to have for yourself.
Wow,
because,
that's huge.
Yeah, I was like, dang, that is so good because we learn how to balance that, or else we're just gonna continue like the scale is gonna just be tipped, and we're just gonna keep running into the same frustrations over and over and over again. So if we can learn how to have more grace for ourselves in the hard moments and in failures, and learn from them like Jim's daughter did, and reset and refocused and took a deep breath, all tools and things that I teach as well, is that then they're going to have more success and they're going to be a lot happier playing. And I'm like, when you guys are more happy and actually enjoy playing the game, you do better.
What a concept, right? You do better when you're having fun.
I don't know, that might be an opinion, but I really truly believe that.
Yeah, for sure.
Paige, a couple of follow-ups on that, and two questions. One, do you work with any boys, or is you all girls?
I don't. I get asked that a lot. I just really feel a connection with the girls, and I have a lot of girls that I have opportunities with. Maybe one day I'll. I don't know. This is what I like the opinion theme we've got going on here, because I think an opinion that I can connect with girls better than I can connect with boys, and I think that like a strong male leader or mentor can connect with a young gentleman a lot better than I can maybe connect with them. It's just like they,
different? Do they have different mindsets?
Well, that's kind of where I was going with that, Dan, is are they having similar mindset challenges? Is there parallels there?
I think similar. There's going to be like intertwining, but a little bit different, when it comes to the boys and the girls.
It's funny you say that, because now I just had my son, his first practice for hockey was yesterday, day before. And we went yesterday and watched for a little bit, but I don't like the cold, and so we didn't stay for very long. And he didn't want us to stay, and we were the only parents there staying. But besides, that's not where I'm going with this. He's the worst kid on the team by far. He's only got like 20 hours on skates. Okay. And there's kids that were, supposed to play on the A and the B team, and they got pushed to the C team, and they're all pissed off. And Brady's like, hey, I just want to skate, and to watch him be the worst player by far and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Angie looked at me and she's like, I can't believe he's doing this. And he falls down, he gets right back up. Keeps doing it. Both of my girls who played club volleyball, if they were like this, they wouldn't even made it past the first day.
They've been like petrified, right?
They'd be petrified, and they, I don't want to be the worst player. I can't blend in. I'm standing out. I'm gone. I don't want to try hard. Like, both of my girls would be like, I shouldn't say that. My oldest would probably try a little bit hard, but nothing like Brady. I mean, Brady's just, I don't know if it's who he is as a person or if it's because he's a boy and he wants to try hard. I don't know, but I just know that there is a separation. Yeah. I can see the separation within our own children, boys and girls. It's definitely different.
Embarrassment thing for girls. They really don't want to be embarrassed, or
smart enough to be embarrassed when we're that age.
So how does somebody overcome something like that? I mean, from a parent's standpoint and from a child's standpoint, I mean, what would be your recommendation on?
Yeah, I actually worked with a girl who plays volleyball that was going through this like same scenario where you said like it was open gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Because the open gyms happen before tryouts, right?
Usually,
so he had, so this was about a year ago then. And she was just she just really didn't want to go to these open gyms, especially the ones where she didn't know anybody or she wasn't familiar with any of the girls or the coaches. And it just like, she was like petrified. She was super shy, did not want to put herself out there. Like it was, this was not fun for her. We'll just put it that way. And something that that I worked with her a lot was her thoughts, like in her limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
What was her beliefs about going and putting herself out there and showing that she's really great at volleyball, but she's just afraid to show it or put herself out there and do those things. So we really had to work on like, what were those limiting beliefs that were holding her back from going and doing what she knows how to do and that she's practiced over and over again. So we really had to like dive into her thoughts and what caused those thoughts and how it made her feel. And then it's like something I learned that's called a thought model. It's the circumstance and the situation is, you've got to go to open gym. You don't know anybody. It makes me think that I might get paired up with somebody that's better than me, or I might do something stupid in a drill, or all these like worries and doubts and negative thoughts that come up. And then we start to feel like scared or frustrated or worried. And then those things lead to our actions or like our inactions. And then I showed her, then you get these results, right? You don't perform the way you want to. You end up on the team that is, a lower level than what you should be on. And then you're like frustrated with where you're at and you have to have that whole year on that team because that's how club volleyball. So you're like stuck. It's like a contract.
Yeah.
So I show them that. I'm like, okay, this is what happens when you have these thoughts. This is how you feel. This is how you like the response and their results. I'm like, you don't want those, right? And when we write it down and we like get on the whiteboard and look at it, and then we work on, okay, what if you had these thoughts? What if you thought about the situation differently? I like to use what if phrases, like, what if I go out there and I play really well? What if I just let go of all the results and all the overthinking and just like go have fun and like do my thing and meet somebody new? And like, I just try to get them to think of it in some different perspectives and thinking about themselves differently. So a lot of thought work. And then I'm like, okay, how will that make you feel? How does that make you respond? And what kind of results will you get if you're thinking like this? And then they're like, and I'm like, okay, which one do you want to do? And they're like, well, definitely that one.
Right.
I definitely don't want to do, but like writing it down and then like seeing their thought process and what it does, it starts to make them realize, oh, wow, okay, if I just start working on choosing some different thoughts, then all of it will fall into place for me. It's just like these little shifts and these little changes. Does it happen overnight? No, right? Like you got to practice it and keep working on it. But it's the same thing with, the reps in practice. Like you got to work on a certain skill over and over again in order to be good at it. So that's a really great way to start working on that feeling, that scared, timid, petrified to put yourself out there kind of feeling. Because I know another big thing that I see with a lot of girls, I don't know about the boys, but is they're so afraid to answer questions or volunteer to go first in class or at a camp, or they're like, oh no, like I am not going. Like that is the worst thing that could happen. So I'm like, what do you have to lose? Like the person next to you is probably thinking the same thing. Like who cares what everyone else thinks or says? Like I always say, like the more questions you ask, the more curious you are, you are going to get to where you want to go faster because you're asking somebody that has done it before, that has experienced it. If you don't understand it, how are you going to understand it if you don't ask?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like,
Mhm.
And I think that too shows a ton of initiative. I mean, I'm not a coach. I hang out with some coaches. I listen to some things that they say and some feedback that they give. But a player who will show some initiative to ask the questions, to volunteer for the drill or whatever, they would
Mhm.
almost rather pick that player than the person that's scared to play, just because they know that they're going to go out and they're going to do, their very best. They're going to try their hardest, and not play scared. I think that's huge,
Mhm.
to get a young female athlete to get over that fear, start thinking about things differently, and with confidence.
Does I have a question for you, Paige. Does that something that the girls on the team or kids in any manner, is it something that they can, I don't want to say rub off on them, but is it something that without teaching them they can acquire because there's somebody with that talent on the team? You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Is it?
that takes initiative.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
does it something that physically has to be pointed out and told, or is it something that will spread over time if you have that person that can do it or people that can do it?
I think it kind of also depends on the coaching as well. Like if they're like, yes, I love that. Like, I'm so glad that you volunteered, or they're like celebrating those things and acknowledging those things. Like the other girls are going to start picking up on that and be like, I need to do that more. Like I need to just like get out of my own way and raise my hand or go first. And eventually they'll start to do it. And it's actually something I do in my like group calls on Zoom is I just like celebrate the heck out of them. Like, I love Kiara. I'm like, this is the girl that was just on the other day. I'm like, I love that you just like shared that. And I asked them like, you guys, and then when they share in the chat, they don't want to like speak up out loud. I'm like,
Mhm.
have such amazing responses and answers. Like, don't be afraid to share them. Don't be afraid to share them out loud. Like, I want to hear from you. Like, it makes me excited. So I think it comes from the coach's culture and like the feedback they're giving. I think the coach has a big like job and opportunity to create that for them. But I also think that they can learn from the other girls. So one of the things that what I love to see when I'm working with a girl is we're kind of like working very individually on themselves. And I always tell the girls, I'm like, we're going to be selfish and we're really going to focus on you and your thoughts and how you respond and how you show up and your confidence. And you're going to see as you keep working on yourself, how it's going to affect the people around you, your teammates, your siblings, your family, friends. And I love, like, one of my favorite things that happens is when like one of the girls that I've been working with will get like a message from a parent and they'll just be like, oh my gosh, like Zoe just was like helping her teammate and or like her team or like having a conversation like let's take a step back, let's breathe, or let's visualize. Actually one of the she's a gymnast, yeah, she was giving her brother pointers because he plays baseball, but she just my program, and she's like, it was the sweetest thing ever. So I think once one of them starts to figure it out and knows like, oh, this works, they're going to start to share that with their teammates. And it's something I encourage. I'm like, share it. Like if you see a teammate struggling with something, be like, hey, this is something that helps me. And sharing like what they do in those moments. Cause I wish I would have asked my teammates that were doing really well. Like one of my best friends, she was the best hitter on our team. Like, why wasn't I asking her what she was thinking when she went into her at-bats or like what she was doing? Because again, asking questions gets us a lot further than just sitting in our own stuff all the time.
So, do you ever have resistance from the girls, or what are the hardest lessons that it takes to sink in?
That's a good question. I think where the resistance happens is when we're working on the thoughts that they want to believe and like positive affirmations, that kind of work, when they're like, I just don't really believe it. And I get it. Like sometimes I write down things that I want to believe or positive affirmations, and I'm like, yeah, right. Like I'm not on board with that. I don't believe that. This is like out. It just seems far away. Something that we will work on is like a bridge thought, or a some people call it like a ladder thought, or even a neutral thought to work on in order to really end up believing that end thought. So it's like, for example, if it's something like, trying to think of a good volleyball example. Like because so maybe the like super positive go like next level version of themselves thought is like, I can go play at any Division I school that I want to. That sometimes feels really far away, and like, how am I supposed to do that? And the bridge thought or the neutral thought is like, if I keep working really hard on the court, if I keep, and I'm like a good teammate, and I'm working on my thoughts and trusting the process, then I will be able to have my choice in where I go play volleyball at which school.
Yeah.
That one feels a little bit easier to like jump on board. So the more that like we work on those, we're going to get, but still looking at that big thought, kind of like goals, right? Like looking at like, okay, what are some smaller goals to get to?
Goals.
Yeah, some short-term, long-term goals, things like that.
To help get that. And but something I share with the girls, I'm like, what we think and what we say is what we're going to believe. So the more that you think and say and talk about the big scary thing, the more you're going to believe it. You're not going to believe it tomorrow night or maybe even next week, but the more that you work on it, just like the practice thing, the easier you're going to believe it. So that's one of the things that I get a lot, like they're resistant, which all of us are as humans, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we hear about the big scary goals. I mean, even in business, or in personal development, leadership development, they want you to set those big audacious goals or big scary goals or whatever they call them. There's always an acronym for stuff like that. But they want you to get out there, to really set those goals and then try to work towards that. I've cheated a little bit in that I actually listened to your parent Zoom meeting that you do. I think you do those once or twice a year. And I actually listened to one back in May. It was absolutely amazing. And you made some comments about something that, if you wouldn't mind sharing, with those that are listening, but you made some comments about how girls manage and normalize their emotions. And you were talking a lot about fear, doubt, nerves, maybe even some anger or pressure, to come in clutch. Can you talk a little bit about how you normalize those emotions?
Yeah, I was like, hopefully I know what you're talking about.
Well, it made an impact on me. I mean, it was huge.
Lost me.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, I'm putting on the spot over here. So something that I share with parents, and it's really funny because everything I teach the girls, I just teach the parents. I'm like, this is exactly what you should be doing. Like we were saying, as a parent, this is what you should be modeling, and your kids are watching you, even though you don't think they're listening to you all the time. But they're very observant little people. But one of the things that I want athletes to know is that it is okay to feel nervous. It's like a totally normal thing. It's okay to have negative thoughts. It's okay to be frustrated. Like, I would actually be concerned if you weren't any of those things, or weren't feeling anything of those things, or weren't doing those things, because that just means you care. Like, when you're frustrated or you're nervous or you're worried that you're not going to do well, that just means that you care about how you show up, which kind of goes back to that. They care so much about how they show up for their teammates, that it like paralyzes them, right? And then that comes into the balance thing. It's like, how do we give ourselves more grace, and be kinder to ourselves and have more positive thoughts so that we can build that out some more. So I'm like, these things are totally normal. And I start to ask the girls, I'm like, who else feels nervous, or who else has negative thoughts? And they're like all raising their hands. And I'm like, see, we're all in this together. Like, we all experience this and go through this. We just have to learn how these different tools to like navigate these things. Just like I was kind of sharing, like with a thought model, like when I show them that on paper or on a whiteboard, they're like, oh, duh, like of course I want to be over here. But we are in the moment most of the time when we're trying to figure it out, and it's like really hard in the moment. So we have to like create space and time to work on our thoughts and our mindset so that in the moment it clicks and it's easier. I have a really great softball example, but
that's great. Go ahead and share it.
Yeah.
Sure.
When in softball and baseball, like you learn to field a backhand and a ball to your opposite side, and it's really awkward. It's like a really incredibly awkward skill to learn. Like you would just much rather like scoot over, and but I'm like, the more that you practice it, the better you get, and all of a sudden you don't even have to think about it. You just like, man, like your glove just flips over. But before you're like, oh, like I just want to scoot over. Like it feels so weird. It's the same thing with our thoughts and practicing our thoughts and understanding like our feeling nervous and all those things are totally fine. We just have to work on which thoughts we're choosing so that we can have better outcomes and results.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. I think that do you think that girls would be surprised if you asked that question, if you showed up randomly at a club practice and you asked the girls how many are nervous? Do you think that the girls would be surprised about everybody that raised their hand?
Yeah. I think they always are. And that it's one of my favorite, like, I think sometimes the parents are resistant to signing their daughter up for a group program. For one, they're like, oh my gosh, she's so shy. She's never going to get anything out of it. I'm like, what are you teaching her?
Right.
Like, push her in there, like, fall off the cliff. And then two, once they're in there and we get into the first couple of like, even after the first session together, it's one of the things I try to create in a culture in the group sessions is like, hey, like all this stuff is normal. Like I went through it, you're going through it, she went through it. And all of a sudden they're like, like what a relief. Like I'm not some crazy person that's always frustrated or always like, maybe I'm not even having fun playing anymore. Like I'm not the only one experiencing that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned some stuff about, parents, push them out, get them get them involved. But I think that's a great segue into the next topic, about a parent's impact on their athlete's mindset. What are some things that parents do that negatively impact their mindset?
Oh, man. I don't want to go through the laundry list, but
we all know.
A lot of parents are about to feel real guilty here in a second.
Yeah.
You hit it on the net, right? If you don't know, you're doing it.
Arms crossed, walking away, not saying anything, nobody's cheering.
Yeah, all of those things. Blaming the coach, blaming everyone else,
yelling at the ref.
Yelling at the ref, making excuses. Like just really, I think a lot of it is like making excuses. Like you're giving your daughter permission or your son permission to make excuses
to shut down
for everything. Yeah. Another big thing that I like to talk about with my parent workshops is like, do not fall trapped to the drama of club and travel sports. Like, don't.
What do you mean by that?
Drama.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I remember I don't think I remember my mom. My dad. I'm going to throw him under the bus. I always do this.
It's okay. It's a dad's podcast. It'll be fun.
Right.
This will be our daughters later on in life throwing us under the bus.
Right.
Yeah, I remember like these dads or parents, even in college. I mean, in college, it's probably got even like worse. They would just talk so much crap about other players, who's getting playing time. Like everybody thinks they know best, and then it gave me permission to be like, yeah, like she shouldn't be playing, and blah, blah, blah. Like I'm like, and then I look back and I'm like, that is such wasted energy for me. I should be focusing on what the heck am I gonna do to put myself in a position to like excel and be seen and have those conversations with my coach. Oh, that's one of the things too. Parents always going to the coach rather than empowering their daughter to go have that conversation and those conversations with the coach. That's one of the big things I work on with the girls, to have that confidence to have those conversations. Yeah, that's the drama I'm talking about. I'm like, don't allow yourself to fall into that black hole of drama, because you, like we said earlier, your kids are watching you, they're listening to you, and it's just giving them permission and saying like, oh, it's okay to talk about these other players. It's okay to talk about the coach like that. It's okay to talk about the referee like that. I think one of like the golden rules is like, if we're going to talk about it, let's have some sort of solution at the end. Like, what are we going to do to make this better, or what can we do to put ourselves in a better situation?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I think this is.
Go ahead, Terrell.
I was gonna say, I think that's a good point, and I think a lot of parents probably needed to hear that, whether they wanted to or not, because they don't realize the impact that we can have on the kids and on our daughters and on our sons and on our athletes. And so when we do things like that, when we say those things, and then we expect them to perform out on the court, and when we don't see that, how do we expect a different outcome when we just kind of fed into the problem instead of being a part of the solution? And I think that's kind of something that we overlook as parents. And
so hard though. I mean,
it is, man. And like you talked about,
like we all know when we do it. And I guess that separates the good.
Hey,
from the
I
good.
haven't been in your guys' shoes yet. My son is 3 months.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Lots of mistakes.
It's so hard. And
but I think it would be a good challenge for us as parents to, like, I'm not saying we're going to get it perfect this time. I know I'm not going to. I can tell you this club season, I will fail, and I'm okay with that. But
no, you can't.
Wait. That is not a positive mindset.
No. Listen, you haven't let me finish. But I think if we can realize that, hey, I'm not going to get it right every time, but try to get it right more times than not, and then work on it going forward. And when you recognize that you're starting to do those things and make those types of impacts, try to find a way to think, okay, hey, yeah, I know it, maybe, so-and-so is not having a great game, but, if I were going to say something about, their play, how is that going to impact her, which is in turn, how is that going to impact the team, which now we're all going to be feeling the same way. And so I think if we take the opportunity to step back and really look at, okay, if I do mess up the next time, can I say something better, or can I do something better in that situation? And we just kind of get better as we go forward. But I think we can't be hard on ourselves either about it. So
do you think that we should have the mindset police?
I think we need, I think it should be, here's what I think. I think there should be a mandatory parent mindset class before your daughter starts club sports.
That's a great idea.
So just out of curiosity, how many of your club meetings, right? We have team meetings at the beginning of the season. How many of your clubs have talked about that? Talk about expected parent behavior. They talk about your body language.
Nothing in volleyball, but hockey was that way.
Yeah,
hockey was totally mindset. There was a whole and the guy is like the coach is I don't want to say he's like a speaker or anything, but he's definitely involved in that aspect in real life and business, and you can tell that it bleeds into the coaching. And I thought it was great. I walked out of it like, oh, I want to play hockey now. Like,
Yeah. But see the impact that had on you, though?
yeah, totally.
Like such a positive impact.
Totally. Well, there's also in hockey, and I didn't know this either. When we went to the first parent meeting, there was a thing about making sure that you don't get put on the list because you can get thrown out of games.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's a thing? Like, you're in the stands and it's cold. I'm like, no arguing with other like players and no fist fighting. Like, I was like, what? Wait, there's parents that fight? Like, what is this? I mean, I've seen people fight for chairs at volleyball, but like, there's no like stipulation where you get banned from games because of verbal abuse or anything. I was like, what the heck? What did I get myself into?
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I did not realize.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I really wanted to piggyback off Trevel's just sharing like how we can all be better parents, but we are humans and we're gonna fail. And we're not perfect, right? Like something I tell the girls, I'm like, trust me, you're not perfect, and neither are your parents. So we'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
But I think that just as parents, admitting to your failures when we do, and just like acknowledging them and talking about them and having those conversations and being like, hey, like I messed up. Like I should not have talked about your coach like that. I got heated. I was in the moment. And I want you to know that that's not how I want to show up. That's not how I want to be, or that's not how we should handle this situation. So I just want to know, like, I made a mistake. And so like we all make mistakes. We mess up.
Right.
And it's about like what we do moving forward. So I think that just having that like transparency could be really great for opening up more conversations when it comes to mindset and learning from failure and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And I think it opens up, or I guess closes the thought that they have to be perfect with this when they see you kind of mess up, but then, hey, admit to it, but then get back on the right track. And then that kind of sets the tone for them. Okay, hey, I am going to mess up at some point, but, as long as I can acknowledge it and then fix what I need to fix to go forward, I think everything will be just fine.
Yeah, true. That's a great point. And Paige, I think that's just a great parenting tip. I mean, that's something that we learned when my kids were young is, be able to admit your mistakes and own up to them. You don't lose your authority as a parent. You actually gain credibility.
It's like
progressing this parenting topic. Is it more moms or dads that are involved, or do they come as a couple?
That's a great question. I feel like I should tally up who contacted. Honestly, it's kind of a good mixture.
I would have got more better questions.
It is definitely.
We're starting over.
Definitely a mixture. I have a lot of both. It is really cool to see when the parents like kind of like team up and work together on it for sure, because then they're getting it from both sides and like, support from both sides with it. But I definitely have both sides. I don't think one's better than.
Oh, somebody have a question.
I had a question for you, Paige. Do you think that the mindset you're born with it, or do you think it's a learned behavior, or is it something that you have right from birth? Is it like a skill, like knowing how to play any type of sports, or being able to do math in your head without writing it down? Do you think mindset is you're born with mindset, or is this a learned behavior that is acquired with a lot of time and repetition?
Yeah,
I think it's most definitely a learned behavior.
I agree.
I would agree with that.
I like the girls to know that confidence is something that you can learn. It's not. It's not just like the born given right that you're confident. I think obviously like certain personalities, seem more confident. But I also remind the girls that they're exactly who they're supposed to be. Like if you're more reserved or more shy, like you can still be a leader and be confident. like I tell like all the time, like I see athletes that are very like reserved and calm and collected, and they're just like, I call it like the quiet confidence. You don't have to be like this loud, outgoing, in your face kind of confidence. And we need all different kinds of athletes, because if you're on a team and let's say you're the more quiet person and there's like a more outgoing person that seems more like the leader, like the girls that are more quiet are going to relate to you more and gravitate to you more and need your support. So you're just as much of a leader as this more outgoing.
That's I never even thought of that. That's really that's deep.
Yeah, I heard someone say recently that our lives move in the direction of our strongest thoughts. So I would agree with Paige that it's a learned behavior to learn to think positively, to move our life in that direction. And I guess one of my last questions is it really 9:02? I mean, I feel like this hour has absolutely.
It's actually 9:03. County.
Is it? Hey, it's
did we make a quarter?
Did
we not even get a quarter of the way through?
No.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, this is literally like 4 shows worth.
Yeah.
I was like, we could do a series, right?
Yeah. We could
I'm
totally
definitely down for that. Yeah.
I'm like so into this and still have so many questions to ask, but I mean it's literally 9:03, and I promised Paige would be off at 8:45, so I'm already 20 minutes over. So to wrap up, just real quick, in like 2 or 3 minutes, Paige, we have tryouts coming up for a lot of girls. They're going to be in that 11, 12, 13-year-old range all the way up to 16, 17. What are a couple of things that they can do, to develop a good mindset for these tryouts that are coming up? Bear in mind, my tryouts are some are 1 night, some are 2 to 3 nights. So what are some things that they could do to prepare?
Yeah. I don't want to tell them to go to my website and go grab the Game Ready Confidence, but this is what's in it.
Check it out below. Hey, it's right there, pagetons.com.
I swear this is not a solicited ad, but one of the things that could be really helpful for them, like an easy win where you don't have to like put a ton of work or be a master at your mindset before tryouts, because they are soon, or they could be even like this weekend, or is to my Game Ready Confidence is like a pre-game journaling routine. And we go through and I ask them different questions of like, how do you want to feel this weekend? How do you want to show up? What do you want this weekend to end up like? What do you want your results to look like? What do you want to let go of? What do you want to give yourself permission to do? And just really walking through and thinking about, and just like really setting intention of how you want to show up, and thinking about, this is how I want to show up, rather than, and what that's doing is eliminating the worry of what might not happen, or the bad things that could happen, or the fear and like the doubt and stuff that comes with going into tryouts, because there's going to be nerves and there's going to be worries, but we can be really intentional about how we want to show up and what we want to happen, and focus on those things rather than those other things that tend to like tank us or make us what's the word I'm looking for, like just like a little bit nervous, and not perform the way that we want to. And then I also, in that, I have a pre-game, which could be like a tryout guided visualization. So I teach them how to visualize what they want to happen after going through those journaling prompts and setting intention for what they want to happen, like actually seeing and visualizing what they want to happen. Because oftentimes we visualize for the bad, for the evil. That's what I say. It's like we visualize and we're like picturing like ourselves messing up or not doing well, or what are the worst outcomes that could happen. So instead, we're really setting intention for the positive outcomes, what she wants to happen, what she wants to show up, what she wants her confidence to look like, rather than the other way.
Yeah. Nice. And you said both of those are guided journal prompts and both are on your website. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called Game Ready Confidence, and it's just like I teach what a pregame routine, what the importance of it, and I do have some videos that like walk you right through it, how to do it, and then you can always do like the visualization piece as well.
Nice, very cool.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
Can I ask Paige two quick questions?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll ask the easy one first. Any suggested reading for parents on the topic? And then
Parents take notes.
Great. And then second, to build off of the tryout for the girls, what should parents do to either help their players prepare? That's hard to say, or help themselves prepare for tryouts, because it's stressful for parents too. And I think we transfer a lot of that stress and that pressure onto our daughters unnecessarily or detrimentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the book, I think Growth Mindset, or I think it might be just called Mindset by Carol Dweck, is really, really great. And it helps you understand a lot more about growth mindset, which I just feel like is a whole different approach. And as we get older, we tend to lean more to like this fixed mindset. So that one's a really good one. I think that's a great one to start with. And then, sorry, what was the second question again?
The second was about tryouts. So you talked about the girls using your pregame to really visualize and model their mental aspect of getting ready for tryouts. But what about the parents? What should the parents do to either prepare themselves or maybe to prepare themselves to facilitate the daughters being ready?
Most definitely. I think that even if they looked at the Game Ready Confidence and went through the videos and learned it for themselves, then they can encourage their daughter to do it and have conversations around like what they're thinking about going into tryouts. And like with the Game Ready Confidence for the tryouts, this is like stuff that they can do in the car too, like asking these questions in the car, or like doing a visualization in the car. I mean, when I talk about routines, I always think of like you can make it a lot of fun as a parent, and like you guys can have like this super fun pump up playlist where you like jam out in the car. Like that could be part of your pregame routine, but having that pregame routine that helps you just like feel good and like create that confidence before going into that, I think is really important.
I did just add Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, to my Audible.
Yeah, I just put it in my cart on
I really like that one. I think that's a really it's a really great one that hits a lot of different areas. I'll have to I'm like the worst with book titles because I also audio book, so like I never have my hands a lot, so I'll have to send you.
All right,
very cool. Well, hey everybody, we are out of time. We could continue this conversation for probably 3 more hours, and maybe we'll set up some time to do this conversation again.
Part 2 coming?
Do what?
Part 2 coming?
Yeah, probably part 2, part 3, probably part 4. I don't know. We literally didn't get through much at all. But parents, please check out Paige's website. I have gone to it personally. I've been on her website since May. Sign up for those parent Zoom meetings. They're incredible. They're available, I guess, a couple times a year. Sign up for her newsletter as well. Those come out regularly with tons of great information. But do sign up for those. I use them as talking points when talking with my own kid. But be sure to check her out. She's got a lot of great information on her website. And you can also follow her on Facebook, Paige Tons. What is it, Girl Mindset Mentor? You have a group page out there. It's a great wealth of information as well. So check that out. Again, Paige, thank you so much for being on with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was such a great conversation.
went by so fast.
It did.
Always
It did.
does.
I was surprised. I looked down my watch. I'm like, oh no, we're out of time.
I looked at my computer battery. I was like, oh shoot, that's why you saw me moving. Oh, crap.
Yeah, been there before. But thank you to the audience that has listened. Be sure to check us out. Hey, give us a review out there as well. We're now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're I don't know
everywhere.
There's a dozen of them out there.
Go to YouTube and make sure you subscribe and check us out on the Volleyball Dads Facebook group too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Link in the description. That's what they say.
Yeah, link in the description. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you.
Take care.
You guys
have a good one.